Hi, it's Dr. Gemma, and today I want to show you a sort of foundational model for several of the strategies I'm going to talk about in this series. And it's a very simple thing. It's basically what is the difference in terms of psychotherapy and mental health between an adult and a child. And this is based on a theory that was very famous in the 1970s, a little before I came on the scene as a psychotherapist, I'm happy to say. And that model was called EST. And honestly, I can't even remember what EST stands for. What I do remember is that a friend of mine took an EST weekend and came back and told me about it. And it was very interesting that she said to me, in EST, there's 3 ways that you can be involved in a dialogue with another person. And that is adult to adult, adult to child, or child to child. And one of the foundational thoughts of EST apparently was that if you're an adult, you want to be an adult. You don't want to be acting like a child in interactions. And the rest of EST I frankly don't remember. So I want to show you my addition to it. And this model is mine, and I'm very proud of it because this is really helpful when I'm doing family therapy and also relationship therapies. Okay, it's a very simple one, and it goes like this. This is an adult. High experience, low emotion. So that when I'm speaking as an adult, like I am right now, I'm using my experience to tell you something I know, and I'm suppressing emotion. I'm not going, oh, goody, 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 this is so cool. I have moments, but I'm not doing that right now. Okay, so this is an adult. Okay, and this is important because we're not born this way. We develop this way. If all goes well, we're born a totally different way. This is a child. This is a newborn. This is a newborn. Very little experience, very high emotion. Okay, it's really important when I say this. This is basically your child model. High emotion, low experience, different amounts here, but pretty much that's a child. Okay, it's really important when I say this that you understand that this is not a brat. This is not a manipulative or evil child. This is a normal child. This is the way children are supposed to be. And we as adults, high experience, low emotion, are supposed to use these talents to support this because this is a risky time. Okay, children are fragile and they are biologically hardwired to seek new experiences because they're trying to get here. Okay, so this is a very difficult thing. Why are children this way? They're born this way. They have to be because it's part of human development that a lot of our most sophisticated development goes on outside the uterus after birth. Okay. So, for example, a human does not have autobiographical memory till somewhere between 12 and 18 months when the hippocampus of the brain and the midbrain finishes developing. So what that's telling you is a newborn doesn't remember yesterday. And that's why, you have to keep doing the same things over and over, okay? So, imagine that you have this person and they can walk, they can even run, but they can't remember really very well what they did yesterday. Yeah, that's called a 13-month-old child. That's why toddlers are tough, because they don't really remember. Now, they do, in some ways, in a very primitive way. They've got the midbrain fully formed, and I gotta be careful what I said. They've got most of the midbrain in there, but they don't have the midbrain part that has autobiographical memory, and they're still working on control of strong emotions as well, okay? But they've got the hindbrain, they've got all the parts that make them walk, and they're getting the parts that make them talk. So, meanwhile, they're biologically hardwired. They must try to gain experience. That's why they're able to walk so young, because they're using it to gain experience. They're running around the house, touching everything, flicking their fingers, putting it in the electric sockets, all those things that horrify us when we remember dealing with toddlers of our own. Okay, they're wonderful people, but they're kind of scary because they're out there trying to get experience and their autobiographical memory is not that good. Okay, so that's why it's really important that we be this. Okay, and this is why I'm not a big fan of children having children because they're not developmentally there yet. Okay, so we must use our experience to help protect children. And to do that, we must suppress our emotion. And that's really key. If you can't suppress your emotion, that's going to be a problem. Okay, so when your child is newborn, here's what their world is, just in case you need a little proof here. Okay, when a child is born, because they don't have the hippocampus particularly well formed. And the parts of the limbic system that control strong emotion and memory are not particularly well formed. They're still developing. When a child is born, they've just come out of this self-contained, perfectly self-sustaining environment where they were warm, they were cozy, and they were fed without even opening their mouth through the umbilical cord, okay? So they get dropped out of that, literally, into a world where suddenly they've got to use their mouth, they're experiencing hunger, everything has changed, they're cold, okay, if you don't wrap them up. So, and they have no experience of this world. I mean, they have absolutely zero, man. My hand would be as low as possible on the screen here. So all they've got is terror. First time a kid gets hungry, I'm dying. Okay, and every time you answer that, remember, a newborn doesn't know where you are. If you're not holding them, they don't know where you are. So they're like, oh my God, this is tragic, this is terrifying. So they're shooting up their emotion, they're screaming, and it's real for them. They don't have anything, okay? That's a newborn. Now, all humans, we're hardwired to respond to that, to try to help the newborn. There are even experiments where they played tapes of crying newborns to criminals on death row. And the people tried to claw their way out of their cells to help the newborns. Humans can't help it. We are hardwired to protect our young, and that's a very good thing, okay? So we are going to try and help the baby. Now, if you're immature, well, let's talk about new motherhood. You're sleep deprived, you're tired, you haven't had sleep in weeks when you give birth, right? So, you're walking around highly emotional and all this. This is why we want mothers to have a support system of other adults. Because the mother's going, she's tired, she's freaked out, oh my God, he's crying again. She's going to have to do this. And every new mother makes this decision over and over and over again as part of motherhood, okay? So this is why this is so key, that we have to, when we work with children, but also when we're in a tense situation as adults, we have to be using this. We have to be experience suppressing emotion. Only children get to do this. If I get mad at my child and I take a swing at my kid, I'm allowing this. And that is not acceptable. That's revenge parenting. We don't take revenge on our children. We don't do that. That's a child with another child. That's not safe. We want children to have adults with them. High experience, suppressing emotion. Okay? So in a perfect world, that works like this. I'm in my office, my old office on Palmdale Boulevard, very busy street. I hear a crash, a scream, and I realize, I look out the window, somebody's gotten hit by a bus. Now, my first reaction comes from my midbrain. That my midbrain is where I keep my strong emotions and my early warning system. It lives kind of back here, okay? So my early warning system goes off, and before I can even put it in words, I do one of these. And that's natural, and that's one place where it's okay that in moments of shock or being strongly surprised, we do this because our brain can react faster to danger in this mode. But we don't want to stay here too long because this does not allow us to make good decisions, okay? So I hear somebody getting hit by a bus, and I immediately do this. My early warning system goes off to protect me. Am I in danger? No. Okay, and I'm going to look around. My heart will race, but I'm going to get a shot of adrenaline because I need to get out there and help, okay? So without a lot of conscious thought, my midbrain early warning system goes off, and I immediately begin to activate for danger, okay? But now, when I realize I'm not in danger, I become able to do this. I become able to suppress my emotion and start using my experience. I'm only a psychologist. I'm not a medical doctor. What do they need out there to help that person who's been hit by a bus in front of my office? So I might grab a blanket and pillow off my couch and run out there. And first thing I'm doing, before I even do that, is I'm dialing 911. I'm getting help. Never be alone in a crisis. And then I'm going to run out there and I'm going to look. Is there a medical doctor or a police person out there? Okay. If there isn't, I'm going to use my experience. I'm going to immediately put a blanket over the person if I can do it safely, because I don't want them to look at any injuries they have. That'll make them more impaired. And I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to say, okay, I'm not a doctor, but I'm here with you. I might put the pillow under their head if I can do it safely, if I can move them safely, big if. But I'm going to say, I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm going to help you. I called 911. There's an ambulance on the way. The hospital is very close by. I'm going to stay with you, and I'm going to help you, and I won't leave you alone no matter what you say or do until we get more help, okay? Now, that's my experience talking, and I'm not particularly a highly trained first responder by any means. I've just had some basic first aid. But I'm going to try and do that because now I can kick into my experience. Once I have suppressed my own emotion, my fear, my anxiety, I'm going to try and help, okay? And yeah, there is such a thing as shock, and yeah, sometimes you can't do it when you want to do it. That's why first responders are so heavily trained. But that's a model of, you can see that sometimes in a crisis, you do this because it allows for a faster response to danger. But once you realize you are safe, your job is to start doing this, is to start using your experience and suppressing your emotion, okay? It's very important. Imagine your toddler comes into the kitchen, and your toddler, hi, how you doing? I love you, mommy, I love you, mommy. And she comes in and she sees the pretty blue light on the stove for the first time because she's just grown tall enough to see it. So this may be new for her. And she immediately goes, ooh, pretty, and she reaches for it because that's what a toddler is supposed to do, actually. And now, what's going to happen to you? Your early warning system in your midbrain, without the intervention of your native language, in other words, just using biochemistry and symbols, goes symbolically, danger. Your early warning system goes off. It throws out a few stress hormones. The stress hormones enable you to move extremely rapidly, again, without verbal thought. And you grab her hand and pull it away. Okay, so you immediately did that. You went to emotion. Oh my God, and you grab her. And your heart is pounding and you feel emotion, okay? So you're in this state. But then your early warning system should turn off if you're healthy. And so you become able to do this. So your kid is crying because you may have swatted her hand or snatched her hand. No, you didn't hurt her. You weren't doing revenge parenting. Now, if you go, get your hand away from there, I've told you this before, pow. Now, that's inexcusable. That's violence. It's not an emergency response. That's revenge parenting. We don't do revenge parenting. That's high emotion, low use of experience. But in a crisis, we may have swatted her. We may have yelled at her because we only had less than a second to respond. And our brain is hardwired in danger. We can respond in less than a second. But the minute the early warning system turns off, we become able to do this. So there's our poor 3-year-old, and she's crying, oh, I didn't mean it, why did you hit me. And you're feeling terrible, like, oh God, I swatted her, I didn't mean to do that, poor kid. And so, you scoop her, oh, mommy's sorry, I'm sorry, honey. That was dangerous. Are you okay? And we kiss her hand, and I'm sorry. Now I'm using my mothering experience, okay? So now I'm in this place. So that's how we want these things to go, okay? And that's your basic model. And anytime we're talking about how we relate to each other, whether adult to adult, adult to teenager, you know what a teenager is, by the way? It's this. See the constant motion? Yeah. Teenagers' developmental job is to make you nuts. No, their developmental job is to try to be an independent adult. And they only have other adults to practice on. And they have very unstable levels of experience. Sometimes their emotion is very high. They have huge hormone issues going on because their bodies are developing rapidly. And at the same time, they're forced developmentally, if they're healthy, to try to act like adults when they're not ready to and they don't have enough experience. So they're always doing this number, and that can be tough to deal with. But there you go. That's the basic model, and I hope that's very helpful. I'm going to say, if you're enjoying these, please consider donating to my Ko-fi account, KO-FI. I think it's //DRGEMMA. So if these are helping you, feel free to donate, but don't feel pressured by any means. I just want to get the word out there. Okay, everybody. Thank you for hanging in here with me. Everybody stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.